Hi everyone, I'm Devika. Today I'm here to give a presentation about my experience in developing knowledge in English pronunciation. I am a pre-service teacher who's learning English as my second language. When I was in high school, I tried very hard to memorize all the words from the dictionary. My study method wasn't really helpful to improve my speaking skills. When I started my university studies, speaking was very difficult. At that point of time, I came to know that who start to learn English after their school years are most likely to have a very serious difficulties in acquiring intelligible pronunciation. I will be covering four main parts in this presentation. First of all, my common mispronounced words. Factors that affected my pronunciation. Impact of those factors in my professional development. Ways that pre-service teachers could take to overcome the difficulties of English pronunciation. And eventually I will conclude my presentation. So now I will be sharing the common words that I have been mispronouncing. Okay, the first word is vegetable. Now this word is a very challenge for me because it looks like they should be four syllable vegetable. But there is not. There are only three syllable vegetable. Can you see the syllable that we completely forget the letter E? Vegetable. We don't pronounce that second syllable. The correct way of pronouncing this word is vegetable. Next, people often get this word wrong because they say it with four syllables. Comfortable, which is wrong. But remember, it has only three syllables with the stress of the first syllable. Comfortable. Now this word, just like vegetable, has an extra vowel that we don't need to pronounce. Comfortable. Not comfortable, but comfortable. You skip that vowel sound. Another common mistake is the way I pronounce V and W. I thought that V and W make a similar sound, we use it without any differentiation. So I pronounce W as V. If I have to speak wine, I will pronounce this word as wine. This is because in my first language only V sound exists, whereas in English V and W are two distinctive sounds. There are two different phonemes in English. For me, there may not be much difference in the two, but there is a marked difference in the way they should sound. When pronouncing W, the lips should move forward and be rounded. For example, worse, wet, wine. Whereas the pronunciation of V require the lower lip to press against the upper teeth. For example, worse, when, very. I can feel the difference in the sounds. One of the factors that affected my English pronunciation is lack of exposure to English. I got a very less encouragement to practice speaking English at home. Even my contacts outside the home did not give me with situations in which I could practice speaking the language. Through this, I observed that students who were weak in English were those handicapped by their environment. In one of the studies that done by Al-Zowi supported the hypothesis that Malay medium learners of ESL are unsatisfactorily exposed to English. Consequently, this is the main reason for their poor performance in the language as well as the lack of exposure to the target language is due to the fact that English is not the medium of instruction to any further extent but it is merely a subject taught in schools. So, how does this factor affect my professional development? Well, due to the mentioned factor, I have a very low self-esteem towards myself to speak English in public. Since I'm a pre-service teacher, when I have a low self-esteem and confidence, I will absolutely lose my performance and ability to manage my classroom optimally. I tend to feel anxious when performing my speaking because I'm afraid of making mistakes. As mentioned by Aryanti, the feeling of fear of making mistakes somehow related to my lack of self-esteem in using English. Hence, all these are due to the lack of exposure to English environment. The second factor is my personal attitudes. As mentioned earlier, since my English is not my first language and less encouragement to practice speaking English at home, the nature of dislike for English instilled in myself, which led I think I will be less successful than those with a positive attitude and open-minded. Also, the researchers mentioned that students with motivation to learn with positive attitudes towards the target language and its speakers were more successful than were students with less positive attitudes. This factor will gradually affect my professional development because when I have a negative attitudes and behaviors, less belief on my competence will be low self-esteem and it also will influence on my classroom activity. As O'Connell stated that it will certainly give the negative effect on students' character development and success. Here are some of the ways that pre-service teachers could take to overcome the problem of their English pronunciation. When pre-service teacher has phonemic awareness, they understand that the sounds of spoken language fit together to make words, and that those words convey meaning. Beginning readers must learn that reading is the process of acquiring meaning from text. There are many skills that they must learn as they begin to make sense of the various forms of words and letter arrangement. They need to understand the connection between the sounds that they hear in everyday language and the letters that they see on a page. Also, they need to understand how sounds fit together to form words, and they must be able to manipulate the various parts of words and syllables to create new words. The second way that the pre-service teachers could take is to increase their beliefs and practice. A central objective of pre-service teacher education and professional development programs should be to alter teachers' belief and their inadequacy to teach English pronunciation. When equipped with review knowledge, skills, and techniques, they will be more confident in teaching English pronunciation. Most importantly, there is a need to involve school leaders in discussing and improving the teaching of pronunciation. A focus on non-native English teachers' belief and practice about pronunciation teaching is very important because without understanding their inner literature review, EFL teachers' belief and practice about pronunciation teaching thoughts and the values that drive their teaching practice. No effective training and pedagogies can be implemented to enhance pronunciation instruction. In conclusion, without pronunciation, there would be no spoken language and no oral communication. The aim of teaching pronunciation to learners is not to ask them to pronounce like a native speakers. Instead, intelligible pronunciation should be the real purpose of oral communication. According to Gilad Jani, in order to change the way learners pronounce English words, they should change the way they think about the sounds of those words. This is very true not just for individual sounds, but for the bigger parts of speech like syllables, stress patterns, and rhythm. Unfortunately, pronunciation instruction remains largely neglected in English language teaching. These are the references that I used in my presentation. Thank you.